Ladies and gentlemen, this story is coming out of Nevada and it's going to have some details that are not going to sit well with your sensibilities. And this story actually made its rounds quite a bit. So some people have already heard about this story, but if you haven't, I'm going to give you some details. But if you can't handle my opinion or the details, that's your disclaimer that you might need to exit the video. But a widowed Nevada mother whose 4-year-old son was found dead in a garage freezer claims that she was held captive by her boyfriend and son's accused killer and forced to endure months of physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. That's what the mom is claiming as far as her story, how her son ended up in this situation. The woman, whose name is being withheld per the request of her attorney, says she spent most of her 11-month relationship with Brandon Lee Tosselin, who is 35 years old. Let me see if I can get mom's boyfriend on the screen. Tosselin is this guy here on the left. That man looks like somebody tossed him in a trash can. Tosselin is 35 years old, and she spent most of the relationship locked in a room and separated from her children. The biggest thing that stands out to me so far is that the mom doesn't want her identity out there because the mom doesn't want to be judged. She don't want anybody to say anything about probably what she did wrong, right? I'm assuming that's probably what this is. But for the majority of the time, the mother was handcuffed, according to her words, bound and locked up, according to her attorney, Stephen Stubbs. Let's think about this for a minute. Locked up for 11 months, almost a year. Locked up, held against your will for 11 months, almost an entire year. Now, I know we have a lot of ladies who listen to my video that are on the channel. I don't even want to draw so much of an opinion on that just yet. I want the ladies to tell me, just based on what you guys hear, what do y'all think about that? I want you to leave a comment. People will see your comment. Do y'all believe that? Or do you think it's something more to it? Do you believe it or you don't believe it? Or do you call BS? Because I definitely want to hear what you guys' opinion is on that. Because I have some thoughts and I'm going to withhold them just for a moment. But Mr. Tosselin's house was fortified with locks, window alarms, motion sensors, video cameras, gates, keyhole entrances to every room needed to go in or out, and the windows were covered. At what point did you realize that this man was crazy? Did you do a background check? Did you just wake up this day and it was always like this? Was this a slowly but surely thing, like it built up? 11 months of this, though. I don't know. Let's keep going. Tosselin also took the woman's car keys, as well as control over her social media accounts and cell phone, according to KLAS, according to their reports. And I'm getting this from dailymail.com, so thank you, Daily Mail. He allegedly used her phone to text her resignation to her employer in December of 2021. She had worked as a phlebotomist, a healthcare tech collecting blood samples from patients. So she had access to leave the house. So if you left the house, unless he was at your job standing next to you and standing over you the entire time, did you never have, thank you. Somebody in the chat said it. Did you never have access in 11 months to call police? And then it led up to this, which ended up causing the death of your son. The suspected killer faces 2 kidnapping charges and an additional charge of open murder in the death of 4-year-old Mason Dominguez, who is the little boy. Tosselin was arrested Tuesday and jailed in protective custody after police found Dominguez's remains in a freezer at the Northwest Las Vegas home shared by the couple. Investigators believe the boy's body had been kept in the icebox for at least 10 weeks. Weeks. Almost 3 months. So you were never allowed to leave the house in 3 months. You never had access to a phone in 3 months, the internet in 3 months, never saw your family or friends in 3 months, never was at work for 3 months. Your son was murdered in this time frame. But I see why you would want to hide your identity, right? Don't want anybody to say anything bad about you, because that's the most important thing. Apparently, protecting the mother is more important than protecting the kids. I get it. His public defender by the name of Scott Coffey told reporters Thursday that he wants a mental health evaluation for Tosselin, and that although his client intends to plead not guilty, the allegations in the case invited a competency review. It's just part of it, I guess, because they're going to try to claim he's crazy. The mother, in her 20s, why do we even need to know that, claims that she had not seen Dominguez since December the 11th, when Tosselin allegedly told her that he had become ill. That makes no sense at all. According to the police arrest report, Tosselin told his girlfriend that he had taken the boy into a bedroom and locked him inside with him for several days. The mother was blocked from seeing Dominguez, and she reportedly did not know the whereabouts of her toddler and believed the child was possibly deceased. He later told her the boy was dead and that she would not be allowed to see his body because he would lose his freedom. The report noted that Tosselin never reported the boy's death to police or paramedics. The mother told police that she had been abused by Tosselin and was not allowed to leave the house alone or enter the garage. Stubbs said the mother knew Tosselin as an acquaintance of her late husband and father of her children who had passed in January of 2021 of a respiratory illness aged 29. She, Dominguez, and her daughter, age 7, moved into Tosselin's house in March of 2021 and were quickly met with abuse, according to the lawyer. Brandon Tosselin and the victim's mother moved into his house in March of 2021, and Mr. Tosselin proceeded to slowly and methodically exercise more and more control over the family until they were trapped, her attorney told the TV station. He claimed the woman and her children were often locked in separate rooms of the home and that she was frequently handcuffed. When police arrested Tosselin on Tuesday, initially on the suspicion of kidnapping, they found a handcuff attached to the car where the mother was sitting. Officers also found her cell phone in his custody during the arrest. Tosselin was taken into custody after his girlfriend sent a note to the school with her oldest daughter saying that she was being held against her will at the home. A pen and a sticky note were in the car, and the mother was only able to access them for a few moments at a time when she was handcuffed alone in the car as Mr. Tosselin dropped off or picked up the 7-year-old daughter from the gate across the street from the school, noting that she was writing the notes in December. Fearing death if she was caught, the mother was able to write notes little by little and hide them from Mr. Tosselin. 8 or 9 sticky notes were written. Then, 2 days before the rescue, Mr. Tosselin finally allowed the mother to sleep with her 7-year-old daughter, and the mother coached the daughter on what to do. The young girl's elementary school teacher contacted LVMPD officers shortly after 8 p.m. Tuesday when she saw the note, and the police began surveillance of the home. Later that morning, the couple was detained and detectives searched the home. At around 4:30 p.m., they found Dominguez's body in a freezer in the garage. Police said that they also found a hole dug in the backyard that they believe was intended to serve as a makeshift grave for the toddler. Let me see if I can show you guys that picture real quick, which is this picture right here. Here's what's crazy about this picture. I don't think that they ever intended for this picture to be public, but this is a picture that was taken by a neighbor from their upstairs area. So the neighbors took this picture and got it out there to the news, so we can see a little bit more about what was really going on here. And this is just absolutely just incomprehensible. The family is very grateful to school officials and law enforcement that rescued them. Brandon Toslin is a monster. The mother and daughter victims are grateful that their captivity is over. They are traumatized by these horrifying events and overwhelmed with grief for the loss of their 4-year-old son and brother. Meanwhile, Toslin's public defender is seeking a mental health evaluation to determine if the suspected killer is fit to stand trial. That's the first thing we'll look into, and if he's able to go forward with the court proceedings, Coffey told Las Vegas Sun on Monday after Toslin was denied bail. So he got no bail. The judge ordered Toslin to remain jailed pending another court hearing on Monday. Prosecutor Richard Scow told the judge that the kidnapping and murder case against Toslin will be consolidated at that time. Coffey said he had not yet spoken with his client, but believes his apparent spectrum of mental health concerns may play into this case. The defense attorney also added that they had not yet reviewed the evidence collected by police. But let me give you guys the fair usage. I'll only be able to play a couple of these news videos because they're having a little technical difficulty, but I'll do as best as we can. Here we go. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. Now, I'm not sure exactly how the boy died. They just know that they found him in a freezer, so we don't have that information just yet, but I'm pretty sure we'll find out here once the court proceedings start happening. But if you guys are watching this video, do me a favor and please click that thumbs up. It'll help share this video and let more people know that we're live. So I do know we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. The video is going to be a little bit out of sync, but let's do what we can. Here we go. Let's get it.
Tragedy just gripping the entire community. Police say Mason was killed by his mother's boyfriend back in December. His body was found in a freezer at a home in East Las Vegas this week.
Yeah, the man accused of killing Mason will be back in court later on this morning. And reporter Alyssa Bethencourt right now live outside that home where Mason's body was found. And Alyssa, it's certainly been a very emotional week for loved ones and also neighbors right there.
Oh, Todd, absolutely. And you can see a memorial has started to grow here outside of the home where baby Mason Dominguez's body was found. People leaving behind some candles, flowers, and teddy bears. But as you can imagine, it was a very emotional night, more so after we learned new details surrounding his death.
It's heartbreaking. It's very sad. Or imagine somebody else hurting my kids in such a way to where you don't get to see them again. So it's just, yeah, it's hard.
Now, police have told us that baby Mason's body was found in a freezer. They believe he was placed there back in December. But last night, our crews discovered this in the backyard of their home. That is an 8-foot deep hole. A neighbor telling us the hole appeared overnight in the past month or so, but they didn't think much of it until news broke that the child's body had been discovered on Tuesday. Metro now investigating that hole as a possible grave. The man accused of doing this, 33-year-old Brandon Toslin, was in a relationship with the boy's mother. Police say she told them that her son became ill back on December 11th. She said Toslin took her son into the master bedroom, barricaded the door, and refused to let her see him. Weeks later, he told her she could not see Mason because his, quote, freedom would be taken away. Now, we also know that no attempt to call police or medical was made. Toslin expected to appear in court this morning. He's facing 2 charges of kidnapping as well as an additional murder charge. We will be in the courtroom and we'll bring you the very latest on this case, both on air and online. Reporting live in East Las Vegas, I'm Melissa Bethencourt.
Alyssa, thank you so much, and we're continuing to follow this tragic story. You can see the timeline of what happened and read more details from that arrest report. Just head to ktv.com/child death investigation.
All right, I'm going to try to get through these. I'm going to play one more video real quick. I'm going to give you guys the timeline video because I know it's going to be a little bit out of sync, so I do apologize, but we'll get through this. Technical issues happen, so here we go.
Trisha and Dave, I spoke to the attorney who was representing Dacia Maldonado, the mother of the 4-year-old Mason Dominguez, who was found dead in the freezer. This is how the mom tells him the whole thing went down. I want to take you back to January of last year. That is when Dacia Maldonado's husband, Eli Dominguez, died. Now we progress a little bit more forward in this story. Brandon Toslin was a friend of Eli Dominguez. He comforted Dacia Maldonado after she lost her husband. Their friendship then turned into a romantic relationship, and Dacia moved in with Brandon in March of 2021. And now we move forward a little bit more. Toslin slowly started taking control of the family until they were trapped. The attorney says Dacia is locked in a room and separated from her children. And that was right there in December 2021 when Mason Dominguez also went missing. Dacia Maldonado and daughter Riley Dominguez were held captive. Now at that point, Dacia had no idea where her son was. She says back in December, Toslin took her son into the master bedroom, barricaded the door, and refused to let her see him. The attorney says the house was like a fortress. He had locks, window alarms, motion sensors, and other security protection to prevent them from escaping. The attorney says he took over all her accounts and cut communication with their family. He says during the captivity, there was never a time the victim could flee with her children. Most of the time, the family was locked in separate rooms. Whenever Toslin took Maldonado in the car, he handcuffed her to the armrest, even when taking her daughter to school, until February 20th. Dacia Maldonado got to have time with her daughter Riley Dominguez for the first time since held captive. Now the attorney says during that time, Dacia coached her daughter Riley and eventually gave her a note to take to school and hand to her teacher. Then on February 22nd of 2022, which was this Tuesday, Dacia Maldonado and Riley Dominguez were rescued. Brandon Toslin was arrested. Mason Dominguez was found dead inside of a freezer. Toslin, the 33-year-old, has now been charged with both kidnapping and murder. He was arrested on Tuesday after police were dispatched to his home in East Las Vegas.
All right, Abel, you actually talked to a psychologist about this case and domestic abuse in general. What did they have to say to you?
Yeah, most certainly, Dave and Trish. I talked to Dr. Michelle Paul, and she tells me that domestic abuse is something that is terrible, especially for these youngsters at such a young age. It is so difficult for them to take that in and to go through something like this, which is why it's so critical that many of you in the community keep your eyes peeled for some signs. And she says, if you see these little ones with those bruises on their arms, or if they're acting different in any shape, way, or form, or if they're isolating themselves from other groups, make sure you're going up to them, you're talking to them, and you're asking them, hey, are you okay? Because it's instances like this that we are trying to avoid, not only throughout the valley, but throughout the entire country.
Don't understand. Yeah, all right.
Definitely.
Thanks so much,
I'll send it back to you too.
Okay. All right. Brave little girl for handing that note to a
you.
teacher. Well, this story is still developing, and for the very latest, including the timeline and arrest report, just go to our website at ktmv.com/child death investigation.
So, all right, so let me say this. Let me give my closing thoughts because this is the part where people might not agree with where I'm coming from. I just don't believe that this mother had no access to leave, no access to say something sooner, to wait until it gets this bad. Like it progressively got bad, and next thing you know, you look up and you're handcuffed and there are locks everywhere. I just don't believe that. And here's the thing. Background checks are so key. Like, I don't know if this man had much of a history or not, but that's usually a good key indicator that you could check that and see if a person has a pretty bad background or whatever the case is. But there are always red flags and yellow flags, and I always try to tell people that the way that you're talked to, the way that people behave, always want to be up in your phone, and who you're talking to, where you going, when you're going, how you going. These are all signs of abuse. All signs of abuse. And this thing had been going on long enough, and she just flat out ignored it because she loved this man and cared more about this man and cared more about her personal pleasure than she did about her own children. The moment that you say that I can't spend time with my kids, or you need to be looking at my phone, or you're going to have handcuffs in the car, what? 11 months? Yes, I'm going to point the finger at the mom here, as much as people might not like that. I feel like these children deserved every opportunity to have a better situation provided for them. I know abuse comes in all shapes, forms, and sizes. This is a little bitty frail ass dude, man. And I think he's going to get what's coming to him in prison. But, you know, clearly this dude has deep-rooted issues. And I hope that the justice system will give him the maximum penalty under law. Like I said, I just think that the mom allowed herself to be in this position, allowed it to go on too long. And yes, I think that there needs to be some accountability for putting your children around dangerous situations. Hashtag, when you date thugs, you date death. Let me say RIP to that little boy, because I got to tell you, man, like he seems like a bright little boy. Let me see if I can get a picture of him up here. A solo picture. This one's a really good picture right there. I like that one. But the picture that was my favorite is that one. That's easily my favorite picture of this little boy. He could have grown up to become anything. He could have changed the world if he would have just had an opportunity to grow up. Okay? But thank you guys so much for listening to this story with an open mind as well as an open heart. But I do want to hear you guys' opinions. Let me know what your opinions are about the facts of this case. Okay? Thank you.